Let me tell you something. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make in life is not making a move at all. It's about stepping back and getting quiet. Because silence, true silence, is not a sign of weakness. It is strength under control, pain that has been transformed into wisdom, and discipline wrapped in patience. There comes a time in your life when you stop chasing people. You stop explaining yourself to those who are determined to misunderstand you. You begin to focus on yourself, on your peace, your growth, your calling. You come to understand that not every battle is worth fighting, not every insult deserves your energy, and not every person is meant to go where you're headed. That's when the shift begins. Have you ever found yourself in a room full of noise, voices clashing, opinions swirling, chaos rising, and felt something inside telling you to just be still? That's not weakness, that's your soul speaking. Let them talk, let them speculate, let them assume. Because silence, real, intentional silence, is a form of strength that most will never comprehend. In a world that constantly pushes you to react, to post, to clap back, to defend your side of the story, silence becomes a rare and dangerous kind of discipline. People will call you distant. They'll label you cold. They'll say, "You've changed." And the truth is, they're right. You have changed. You've grown. You've realized that peace is not found in winning arguments. Peace is found in knowing exactly who you are without having to announce it. That's maturity. That's real power. And more than anything, that's freedom. There is something uniquely powerful about the person who chooses not to respond. The one who no longer feels the need to justify every step, defend every move, or explain every decision. You begin to understand that not everyone is worthy of your energy. Some people are simply noise in the story of your life, and you don't have to entertain it. Holding your tongue while someone tries to provoke you, that's power. Choosing not to participate in drama, that's growth. Silence isn't avoidance, it's intention. It's the deliberate choice to value peace over pride, to prioritize purpose over ego. And don't ever let anyone confuse that for weakness. A person who can stay silent while being judged, tested, or doubted is a person who has mastered the art of self-control. And self-control is the foundation of every strong soul. Silence brings clarity. When you stop speaking so much, you begin to hear more, especially from God. The world is loud. People are loud. But truth, real truth, is quiet. It doesn't shout. It waits patiently for silence to reveal it. That's why those who constantly need noise never truly find peace. Because peace lives in the quiet spaces, in the stillness of the moment, when you stop chasing and start listening. When you embrace silence, you begin to see what really matters. You notice who genuinely cares. You recognize what actually deserves your time. And most importantly, you discover who you are when no one is watching. That version of you, the one that doesn't crave applause, doesn't wait for permission, that's the real you. And when you find that version, you begin to build from a place of confidence, not insecurity. You no longer need to shout to be heard. You don't have to scream to be seen. Let your silence speak for you. Let your calm be your response. Because those who are truly strong never feel the need to prove it. They show it in how they walk, in how they breathe, in how they move through storms without complaining about the rain. Weak people talk about what they're going to do. Strong people just do it, quietly, consistently, powerfully. And when it's done, the world notices, not because you told them, but because you showed them. That's real strength. That's the kind of legacy silence builds. Not a performance, but a foundation. There's a reason they say still waters run deep. The deeper the soul, the less noise it makes. You won't find a storm raging in a shallow puddle. But when the ocean is calm, that's when it's most powerful. That's the kind of silence you want to cultivate. The kind that's grounded, unshaken, unmoved. People will try to provoke you just to see you react. They'll test your patience just to see if you'll break your character. But when you stay silent, when you hold on to peace with a steady heart, that's when you earn the highest form of respect, not just from others, but from yourself. You begin to understand that not everything deserves a reaction. Not everything deserves your presence. Silence unsettles people because it forces them to confront their own noise. When you stop engaging in arguments, when you no longer react to every insult, when you stay quiet in spaces where you once fought for validation, it sends a powerful message. A message that says, I've outgrown this. And growth, real growth, is silent. You'll never hear a tree grow. But one day its roots are so deep and its branches so strong that no storm can shake it. That's what silence does. It deepens your roots. It strengthens your foundation. It prepares you for storms you don't even see coming. And when those storms arrive, you won't need to raise your voice. You'll just stand there unmoved. And don't think for a moment that people don't notice. They see your silence. They feel it. They talk about it. Some are confused by it. Others feel threatened by it. But the right ones, the ones with depth and wisdom, they respect it. Because silence makes people turn inward. It holds a mirror up to their noise and their chaos. And when they realize they can't drag you into their mess, when your peace stays unshaken, they begin to understand that you are different. You are building something real. You are building stability, discipline, and purpose. And those things cannot be bought or faked. They can only be earned in quiet moments. We have been taught to believe that strength must be loud, that power needs to be shouted to be real. But silence is the language of the strong. It belongs to those who have been broken and still manage to stand. Not because they have nothing to say, but because they understand that saying it is not always worth it. They have learned the value of letting go, of walking away without bitterness, of choosing peace over pride. And in that choice, they have found something rare and unshakable. They have found freedom, the kind that cannot be stolen by gossip or disrespect or misunderstanding. Silence teaches you patience, and patience is a weapon. In a world that races and pushes and pulls, you become the one who waits, the one who watches, the one who listens, the one who moves when it is time, not when emotions demand it. And when you move like that, you become powerful in the quietest, most intentional way. You are no longer reacting. You are responding. You are not emotional. You are deliberate. And when you speak, every word carries weight. People begin to lean in, not because you are loud, but because they know your words are backed by presence and purpose. That is what silence gives you. It makes your presence undeniable even when you say nothing at all. And that kind of presence is true influence. So do not let the world convince you that silence means surrender. It does not. It means you are rising. It means you are learning how to build in private, how to protect what matters without shouting, how to lead without needing a spotlight. It means you have stopped trying to explain yourself to people who never valued the explanation in the first place. It means you have discovered something sacred. You have found the strongest version of yourself, the version that does not need to be seen to make an impact, the one that does not need to shout to change a room. Because your silence, it speaks with more force than noise ever could. There comes a moment in life when you stop choosing noise and start choosing peace, not because you have stopped caring, but because you care more than ever. You care about your mind, your heart, and your spirit. You realize that you cannot afford to allow anything to disturb your peace anymore. Because peace is not just a feeling, it is survival. It is healing. It is the force that holds you together when everything else tries to tear you apart. And once you experience real peace, you never go back to begging for chaos to understand you. Peace does not mean your life is perfect. It means you no longer waste energy on what drains you. It means you walk away from what dishonors your soul, even if it feels familiar. It means you release the people who only show up to take, to drain, and to disappoint. When peace becomes your priority, subtraction becomes sacred. You stop over-explaining. You stop chasing closure. You stop answering calls that only bring confusion. Because your peace is sacred now. And when you start treating it like something holy, life begins to shift. Not only around you, but within you. You wake up with clarity. You move with intention. You stop seeking validation from people who never saw your worth, even when you stood right in front of them. You stop trying to prove yourself in rooms you have already outgrown. And when your peace is your standard, you become unshakable. You start measuring success by your stillness, not by the noise that surrounds you. And that is when you truly step into your power. Not the power that crushes others, but the kind that grounds you and holds you steady in every storm. People will not always understand this version of you. They will say you have changed. They will say you have become distant. But what they do not know is what it cost you to find this peace. They were not there for the tears, the breaking points, the nights you were barely holding on. They did not witness the healing you fought for in silence. So no, you are not cold. You are careful. You are guarded with your soul because you have learned that not everyone deserves access to it. Some only loved you when you were broken because it made you easier to control. But not anymore, not now. Now peace sits at the center of your life. And peace requires boundaries. You will lose people when you start protecting your peace, but let them go. Because if your peace offends them, they were never meant to stay. Because real love does not come with chaos. Real friends do not leave you feeling drained. And if someone becomes upset because you chose your well-being over their comfort, that is not your burden to carry. That is a sign they never truly respected you. Your peace is not a negotiation. It is not a team decision. It is not a shared project. It is yours. And if someone is disrupting it, they have already shown you everything you need to know. Protecting your peace means saying no. It means being misunderstood. It means walking away even when your heart aches and doing it anyway. There is no greater act of self-love than guarding your peace like your life depends on it, because it does. The stress, the anxiety, the emotional exhaustion you've normalized, that is not life. That is the absence of peace. And you have every right to step away from anything that robs you of joy, of balance, of hope. You were not created to live in a state of defense and survival. You deserve mornings that begin with ease, not dread. Days that move with focus, not drama. Nights that end with gratitude, not spiraling thoughts. That is the life peace builds. And it begins the moment you decide it matters more than anything else. You do not have to wait for a breakdown to begin protecting your peace. You do not have to wait until your body is too tired to move, until your heart is numb, until your mind is drowning in noise. Start now. Start before the burnout. Start before the anxiety becomes your default state. Because your peace is not something you randomly find. It is something you create. You create it through boundaries, through choices, through silence, through walking away from what does not serve you. It is not easy, but it is worth it. And once you start choosing peace, you will wonder why you ever lived any other way. The people you thought you needed, the ones you fought to keep, will no longer matter when your soul finally exhales. Because you were never meant to carry what is not yours. You were never meant to fix everyone's problems at the cost of your own spirit. You were never supposed to be the emotional dumping ground for people who never even asked how you are. Let that truth sink in. It is not selfish to protect your energy. It is necessary, because when you are drained, you have nothing left to give. When your spirit is unsettled, you cannot even hear your own purpose. When you are consumed by other people's chaos, you forget the sound of your own peace. Reclaim it. Reconnect with it. Make peace your foundation again. Start showing up for yourself the way you've always shown up for others. Give yourself the grace, the patience, the stillness that you hand out so freely to everyone else. You do not have to be available for everything. You do not have to explain your distance. Sometimes protecting your peace means stepping back, going silent, recharging, and returning whole. Because the world does not need more people who are constantly overwhelmed. It needs people who are whole, who are grounded, who are healed. And that starts with you. You cannot control everything around you, but you can control what you allow into your life. Peace is not a coincidence. It is a daily decision. So every time you feel tempted to return to what broke you, remind yourself that your peace is your priority. Every time someone tries to pull you into chaos, remember what matters most. And every time you feel guilty for choosing solitude, for setting boundaries, for creating space, take a breath and repeat the truth. My peace is my priority. Because without peace, success feels hollow. Love becomes heavy. Life feels like survival. But with peace, everything blooms. The heart begins to heal. Purpose begins to rise. That is the life you are meant for. That is the new standard. Not chaos, not drama, just peace. Deep, unshakable, sacred peace. And then one day you realize something powerful. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone has earned the right to hold your heart, to know your dreams, to witness your fears. You spent too much time giving the most sacred parts of yourself to people who only gave you fragments in return. You let too many stand close who never should have been allowed near. But now you understand. Your presence is a gift. Your energy is sacred. Your time is valuable. And from this moment forward, you will no longer apologize for protecting them. People will claim they know you, but all they know is the version you allowed them to see. They were visitors in your story, not the authors of it. You do not owe anyone unlimited access to your emotions, your energy, your healing, or your kindness. Some people only show up to drain you, to distract you, to feed off your light because they never learned how to build their own. But you are not a rehabilitation center for people who refuse to grow. You are not a sanctuary for those who keep burning down your peace. And you are done shrinking just to fit into spaces that never saw your worth. You do not need to keep explaining yourself to those who are committed to misunderstanding you. You do not need to keep opening doors for people who only know how to walk in and create mess. Some will confuse your kindness for weakness. Some will think your silence means agreement. But what they fail to understand is that you are not silent because you have nothing to say. You are silent because they no longer deserve to hear your voice. Not everyone gets a seat at your table. Not everyone belongs next to royalty. You are not being cold. You are not being cruel. You are being selective. And there is nothing wrong with that. You've learned through pain and disappointment that access to you is a privilege, not a right. The people who genuinely care won't need to constantly prove their place in your life, but they also won't make you question it either. And those who keep wounding you with their presence do not deserve another opportunity to cause more damage. Let them go. Not everyone is built to carry the weight of who you truly are, and it is not your responsibility to shrink in order to fit into their limited understanding. You are not a convenience. You are not a supporting character in someone else's chaos. You are not here to fix problems that were never yours to begin with. The moment you begin to protect your access is the moment you begin to protect your peace, your purpose, and your destiny. That's when the clarity comes. And with that clarity, you start seeing who's in your life because they value you and who's there because they need something from you. That awareness becomes your power. That's when you start to level up, because boundaries are not about shutting people out. They are about filtering what is real from what is not. They separate the genuine from the opportunistic, the loyal from the ones who only take. You don't owe your vulnerability to everyone. You don't have to share your story with people who haven't earned your trust. Some people only want to get close so they can gather your truth and twist it. So they can use your softness as a strategy and define your strength on their terms. But this is not about becoming bitter. This is about becoming wiser, stronger, and more grounded in who you are. You are allowed to say, no, you don't get that part of me anymore. And when you say that, when you take your power back, sometimes you have to sit with yourself and ask, why am I letting people who've done nothing for me take up so much space in my life? That's when it hits you. It was never about how long they've known you. It was always about how they treated you. Loyalty isn't measured by time. It's measured by presence, by consistency, by how someone shows up when it matters. Some people have been around for years and still never truly supported you. And others, they came into your life unexpectedly, loved you with pure intentions, respected your boundaries like it came naturally. And that's who earns access. That's who gets the key to your world. You've been too available for too long, too understanding, too forgiving. But now you have to move differently. Your love is rare. Your presence is healing. Your spirit is powerful. And you can't keep handing that over to people who mishandle it and then wonder why you feel so empty. You are not obligated to answer every call, respond to every message, show up to every invitation. You have the right to disappear, to rest, to create space, not out of rudeness, but out of self-preservation. Because once you experience the kind of peace that comes from protecting your access, you will never let just anyone back in. Watch how your life shifts when you stop trying to be everything for everyone. Watch how your energy changes when you stop pouring into people who cannot hold what you give. You will gain clarity, strength, and purpose, and the right people, the ones who truly care, will respect your boundaries and honor your space. They will not guilt trip you or manipulate you. They will love you in your silence, support you through your growth, and never make you feel bad for choosing yourself. Because they understand, they see your value, and more importantly, they deserve to be there. From this moment on, you owe no one a backstage pass to your soul just because they clapped for you once. Some people are meant to stay in the balcony. They were never meant to walk through the door of your heart. Don't hand out VIP access to people who treat you like general admission. Be kind, be compassionate, but be selective, because not everyone deserves access to you. And that is not arrogance. That is self-respect. That is discernment. That is power. And now that you know better, you have to move better. Sometimes life strips everything away so you can see what truly matters. The phone stops ringing. The crowd gets quiet. The noise dies down. And all that's left is you in the silence. That is where growth begins. Not when everyone is cheering, Not when things are easy, but when you are alone with your truth. When you are stripped of the distractions. When there's no applause, no performance, no audience, just you, your pain, your story, and the decisions you choose to make from that space. That silence is not a punishment, it is preparation. That is where the deepest transformation begins, because in the crowd it's easy to pretend. It's easy to blend in, to wear masks, to play the part. But when you're alone, the masks fall, the performance ends, and the real you rises to the surface, the version of you you've been avoiding, the version that carries the truth. It's uncomfortable, it's vulnerable, but it's necessary. Because real growth never feels like growth while you're living through it. It feels like pain, it feels like confusion, it feels like being alone. But underneath all of that, something sacred is happening. A seed is being watered, a foundation is being laid, strength is being built, and transformation is taking place in the silence. You don't find your strength surrounded by noise. You find it in the quiet, hidden battles no one ever sees. You find it when you're crying at 2 a.m. but still manage to get up the next day and face life head on. You find it when your phone is silent, yet you still choose to speak life into yourself. You find it when no one checks in on you, but you keep showing up anyway. That is what real growth looks like. That is maturity. That is the process of becoming. Because just like the caterpillar, transformation doesn't happen in front of an audience. It happens alone, in the dark, wrapped in silence and stillness. And when it emerges, it's something unrecognizable. That is what isolation does. It transforms you in private so that you can reintroduce yourself in power. In isolation, you start to learn things about yourself you never noticed before. You begin to uncover your triggers. You realize which wounds never really healed. You confront the boundaries you never set. You come face to face with your habits, your patterns, your choices. And through that confrontation, you find clarity. You discover who you've been, who you are, and who you're called to become. Some of the environments you called comfort were actually cages. Some of the people you called support were really just distractions. And sitting with that truth may sting, but it also sets you free. Because isolation isn't destroying you. It's breaking down the version of you that was never meant to last. It's removing the false beliefs you used to survive. It's shaking loose the crutches you leaned on for too long. It's exposing the places in your life that you neglected. And yes, it may feel like everything's falling apart, but what's really happening is that everything false is being stripped away so that the real you can rise. Isolation doesn't just reveal truth, it births transformation. Those late nights, those silent tears, those moments where you thought no one saw you, that is the cost of elevation. And people might not understand your silence. They might ask where you've gone, why you've changed, why you're not the same anymore. But you won't always have the words to explain it, because what happened in isolation wasn't for them. It was for you. It was sacred. It was personal. It was divine. While they were chasing noise, you were being molded in stillness. While they were looking for validation, you were building foundation. While they were being loud, you were becoming solid. You did the work in silence, and now your results will speak louder than any explanation ever could. Growth will cost you some people. It will cost you your comfort. It will ask you to sit in silence and face questions you'd rather avoid. Sometimes it will feel like you're losing, like you're missing out, but you're not. You're shedding. You're elevating. You're stepping into a version of yourself that doesn't need constant applause or outside approval. You have peace now. You have alignment, you have purpose, and none of those things can be bought. They are earned in the quiet. That's what isolation gave you. And once you've grown in that kind of solitude, you will never return to the noise the same way again. You'll stop craving shallow conversations. You'll stop tolerating half-hearted love. You'll stop chasing things that don't serve your spirit. You will move with intention, speak with depth, and think with clarity. Because once you've tasted your own strength in silence, you won't let anything pull you away from it again. You become protective of your peace. You become intentional with your time. You become selective with your energy. And that version of you, that grounded, focused, powerful version, is the one who changes everything. That is the one who walks in purpose and refuses to settle. So the next time life gets quiet, do not panic. Lean into it. Embrace it. Trust that something holy is happening beneath the surface. You are not being punished. You are being positioned. You are not being forgotten. You are being formed. Let the crowd go. Let the distractions fade. Let the silence shape you, because in the stillness, your true power is being born. And when you come out of that season, you won't just survive, you'll realize that isolation wasn't your breakdown. It was your breakthrough. You won't need to explain your silence. You won't feel the urge to justify your distance. Because real transformation doesn't need an announcement. The people who are meant to understand will feel it the moment you enter the room. They'll sense your strength. They'll recognize that you went through something sacred. So let them wonder. Let them whisper. Let them miss the old version of you. Because the one that's emerging now doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't break. This one builds. This one stands firm. This one walks with clarity and intention. And now you are building with real focus. Not the kind of focus that just ignores distractions, but the kind that remembers who you are in every moment. The kind that chooses over and over not to be pulled in every direction. Because when your mind is scattered, your spirit becomes weary. But when your focus is rooted in truth, you move with purpose. You speak with conviction. You walk with a power that cannot be shaken. Focus isn't about closing your eyes to the world. It's about seeing clearly what matters most. It's about sacred vision, seeing beyond the noise, beyond temporary thrills, beyond what others expect of you. And when you lock in on your purpose, when you stay aligned with what you were created for, that is when everything begins to shift. That is when your soul rises to meet your destiny. Alignment doesn't happen by accident. It isn't some magical moment that shows up out of nowhere. Alignment happens when your values, your choices, and your direction begin to move together in harmony. And that only comes with focus. The world is loud. Temptation is loud. Chaos is loud. But truth doesn't scream. Purpose doesn't shout. They whisper. And if you're not focused, you'll miss them. You'll miss the signs meant for you. You'll miss the opportunities designed for you. You'll miss the divine timing that only reveals itself to the still and the present. Focus is how you hear God in a world full of noise. Focus is how you remember your purpose when everything around you tries to distract you from it. And in that remembrance, in that clarity, alignment begins. But the truth is, focus comes with a cost. It costs comfort. It costs convenience. It costs relationships that once made sense but no longer support who you're becoming. You can't be everything for everyone and still stay aligned with your assignment. You can't live with a scattered mind and expect to walk in clarity. Focus requires boundaries. Focus requires stillness. Focus requires discipline. Because alignment isn't just about what you bring into your life. It's also about what you're willing to release. The wrong people, the harmful patterns, the misplaced priorities, they all have to go. And in that letting go, real strength is born. As your focus sharpens, life begins to clear. What once felt confusing starts making sense. What was blocked starts opening up, not because you pushed your way through, but because your spirit finally rose to meet the level of your calling. You don't have to chase what's meant for you when you're aligned with it. It will flow toward you. It will meet you where your energy is focused. But you won't feel that flow if your attention is scattered. Your energy is sacred. What you focus on grows. If you focus on chaos, chaos grows. If you focus on problems, they expand. But if you focus on peace, peace deepens. If you focus on purpose, your path becomes clearer. Focus shifts your entire reality. People may say you've changed. They may say you've become distant or cold. And maybe they're right. Maybe you have changed. Because once you understand what's at stake, you stop playing small. You stop showing up in spaces that drain you. You stop over-explaining to people who are already committed to misunderstanding you. Focus refines you. It helps you separate what is urgent from what is important. You begin to understand that not every call needs to be answered. Not every argument needs your voice. Not every door deserves your presence. You move from reacting to responding. From being pulled in every direction to being rooted in the right one. From constant hustle to intentional harmony. That's when alignment starts to feel like home. When your inner peace matches your outer actions. When your daily choices reflect your highest values. When your habits support your healing. When your goals reveal your growth. When your prayers align with your steps. You feel it in your body. You see it in your peace. Life stops feeling forced and starts feeling fluid. Because you're no longer pretending. You're no longer scattered. You're focused. And that focus builds momentum. That alignment creates grace. That commitment, attracts the right people, the right opportunities, the right doors, all because you stopped looking outward and started looking inward. When you're truly focused, you stop craving validation. You stop needing applause. Because you know that the work you're doing in private will show in public when the time is right. Focus teaches patience. Focus teaches trust. It reminds you that just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not coming. Just because people don't see the vision doesn't mean it's not real. You keep building, you keep believing, you keep showing up without needing a crowd. Because alignment isn't about applause, it's about assignment. And focus keeps you faithful to that assignment. Let others chase what's trending. You stay grounded in truth. Let others move for attention. You move for purpose. Let others scroll, wander, react. You stay rooted, aware, intentional. That's what separates those who are distracted from those who are disciplined, the noisy from the necessary, the confused from the called. Focus is how you protect your peace. It's how you stop giving your time and energy to things that don't serve your destiny. Because not everything deserves your reaction. Not everything requires your presence. And once you know that, once you live that, you become steady, you become clear, you become powerful. The more focused you are, the more sensitive you become to misalignment. You feel it faster, you recognize it quicker. That conversation doesn't sit right, that opportunity feels off. That environment drains your spirit, and you trust your inner signal. You don't second guess that voice saying, this isn't for you. You honor it, you protect it. That is the power of focus. It reconnects you with your inner compass. It teaches you to stop asking everyone else for direction and start following your own wisdom, your own discernment, your own divine alignment. So don't fear the quiet. Don't resist the pull to go deeper. Don't shy away from choosing intention over attention, because that choice, that focus, is what leads you home to yourself. Because the moment you begin to focus, things start falling into place. Not because the world changes, but because you do. Your mind clears, your heart steadies, your steps become intentional, and alignment naturally follows. Focus becomes your shadow, quiet but constant, guiding you toward everything you've been praying for. Talk is easy, but action is everything. You can say all the right things, share the quotes, make the promises, give the speeches, but if your life doesn't reflect it, none of it matters. People may forget what you said, but they will never forget what you did. Your character is defined by what you do consistently, not by what you occasionally say. Real ones don't need to announce themselves. They don't need to declare their intentions over and over. They just show up day after day, doing the work, letting their discipline speak louder than any words ever could. If you want respect, stop trying to convince people with speeches. Let your work speak for itself. Let your consistency prove your focus. Let your changed behavior confirm your growth. Let your peace be the evidence that you're healing. When your actions align with your truth, validation becomes unnecessary. People feel the shift. They notice the energy. Your presence starts to speak for you, not with noise, but with authenticity. In a world full of distractions, silence backed by movement is powerful. Everyone's talking, online, in conversations, in rooms where nothing actually changes, but very few are truly moving. Very few are building. Very few are sacrificing for the future they claim to want. If you're serious about becoming who you were meant to be, you have to move differently. Don't argue about your worth. Deliver with excellence. Don't beg for support. Become undeniable. Don't over-explain your journey. Walk it with purpose. The ones making the most noise usually have the least to offer. But those who move in quiet, those who remain focused, they are the ones reshaping their lives. Your actions reflect your mindset. If your steps are scattered, your thoughts are scattered. If your behavior lacks consistency, so do your beliefs. But when you're truly locked in, when your intentions match your execution, people can feel it. You can walk into a room without saying a word, and your presence will still say everything. It will say, I'm disciplined. It will say, I've grown through pain. It will say, I'm not here to impress. I'm here to fulfill my purpose. There is a quiet power in that, the kind of power that lasts. Eventually, you reach a point where you stop explaining yourself and start evolving, where you stop talking about the grind and start living it, where your life becomes your proof. You realize you don't have to prove anything to anyone. your growth, your healing, your transformation, they will speak louder than anything you could ever say. Let people assume, let them talk. While they're distracted, you're focused. While they're gossiping, you're building. While they're watching, you're working. And one day they'll look up and realize you created something powerful, but by then you'll be too focused to even notice. Because real success isn't loud. Real healing isn't dramatic. True purpose doesn't scream. It moves, it builds. And when your actions speak, people listen differently. They don't just hear you, they feel you. They know you've paid the price. They know you've walked through fire and came out better. They know you've stayed up late, gotten up early, pushed through the silence, and never stopped showing up. That kind of energy is undeniable. You won't need to chase respect. You won't need to force opportunities. They will come not because of what you said, but because of what you did. That's what alignment rewards, a life that speaks for itself. But here's the truth. Action takes discipline, and discipline is rare. Anyone can make a plan. Anyone can say they're ready to change, but only the strong follow through. Only the focused stay the course when the excitement wears off. Only the committed keep moving when no one is cheering. Because this is not about performing for attention. This is about becoming who you were created to be, even when no one is watching. That's where integrity is born. That's where real strength is developed. And eventually, all that work done in silence begins to bloom for the world to see. But it always starts in the shadows. Every time you show up when you don't feel like it, you are making a statement. Every time you say no to distraction, you are declaring your focus. Every time you stay true to your values, you are leading without words. That is real influence. That is true leadership. Not the kind that demands applause, but the kind that earns deep respect. And that is what separates the ones who talk from the ones who live it. Because anyone can speak. Very few can become. But if you're one of the few who do, your life becomes a legacy. So stop trying to convince anyone. Stop over-explaining. Stop waiting for others to understand. Just keep showing up. Keep building. Keep becoming. Let your actions speak for your growth. Let your silence carry the weight of your strength. Let your presence reflect the depth of your power. Because the moment you stop talking and start truly living, the world will feel the shift. And the ones meant to walk with you on your journey, they'll recognize it, not because you told them, but because your life revealed a truth too loud to ignore. You spend so much of your life chasing love, chasing validation, chasing success, chasing people who were never meant to stay. You run yourself into the ground thinking the more you hustle, the more you prove, the more you give, the closer you'll get to happiness. But what you often fail to realize is that the act of chasing means it's still running from you. Peace doesn't live in pursuit. It lives in presence. Growth doesn't come from begging. It comes from becoming. And when you stop looking outward and finally turn inward, that's when everything begins to shift. You don't need to chase what is already yours. You only need to grow into the version of you that's ready to receive it. We've been conditioned to believe that constant struggle is a requirement to be seen, that unless we're endlessly proving our worth, we'll be forgotten. So we exhaust our spirits trying to feel temporarily needed. But the truth is, when you stop chasing approval, you unlock authenticity. When you stop chasing connection, you attract alignment. Because when you're whole within, the right things begin to move toward you. You don't have to force it. You don't have to beg for it. It just flows to you because it matches your frequency. You were never meant to spend your life convincing anyone to love you, notice you, or believe in you. That's not your mission. Your mission is to become someone so rooted in truth, in faith, in personal growth, that everything meant for you arrives without resistance. Because chasing comes from lack. It's a message to the world that says, I don't believe I'm enough on my own, so I have to pursue something to complete me. But when you stop chasing and start becoming, you enter a place of power. You step into abundance. You become magnetic to the miracles that were already waiting for you to align. Think about the things you once forced, how they never lasted. The people you begged to stay were often the ones who left you most broken. That's because chasing creates pressure. And pressure without peace eventually collapses. But when you release control, when you surrender the need to force outcomes, you finally make space for alignment. That relationship, that career, that opportunity, it will come not because you chased it, but because you became the kind of person who could truly receive and sustain it. The goal is not just to find success. The goal is to grow into someone who can carry it with grace. Real transformation happens in the process of becoming. It's in the quiet choices. The early mornings you rose when you didn't feel like it. The nights you leaned into healing instead of distraction. The moments you chose peace over chaos. That's where the power is built. Every small decision, every quiet victory adds up to becoming someone who doesn't chase blessings but creates a life worthy of holding them. Because a healed soul doesn't run after what belongs. A focused mind doesn't get lost in distraction. A whole heart doesn't beg. It draws in what aligns. It creates what lasts. Becoming is not for show. It's not about proving. It's about preparing. You don't have to make announcements about your transformation. Your energy will speak for you. You don't have to convince people you've changed. Your presence will reveal it. When you stop trying to be chosen and start choosing yourself, everything shifts. Your boundaries grow stronger. Your time becomes sacred. Your focus sharpens. The noise begins to fade, and in its place, clarity rises. That's when everything that once felt out of reach starts moving in your direction. The world may try to convince you that you're behind, that you're not enough until you reach a certain level, gain the title, earn the applause, but don't let it rush you. Don't fall into the trap of chasing things that don't nourish your soul. You are not behind, you are becoming. You are not lost, you are being refined. And when you choose the path of growth over performance, the timing of your life begins to make sense. The delays stop feeling like punishments and start revealing themselves as preparation. And you'll come to understand that what's truly meant for you will never pass you by. You don't need to chase anyone. You don't need to chase anything. When you're aligned with your purpose, it all finds you. Your purpose will place you exactly where you need to be. So shift your focus away from the race and invest your energy into becoming. Become disciplined, become grounded, become faithful, become whole, and watch how everything begins to respond to the version of you that shows up with intention. People will feel the change. Opportunities will notice the shift. And most importantly, you'll feel it within. You'll walk with a quiet confidence, not because you sought approval from the world, but because you finally gave it to yourself. There's a deep freedom that comes when you stop running after everything, when you realize your only responsibility is to rise, to evolve, and to stay rooted in what is true. Everything else, the love, the peace, the purpose, it meets you along the way. Not when you beg for it, not when you chase it, but when you become the kind of person who is ready to hold it. And readiness doesn't come from urgency. It comes from consistency, from showing up when no one's watching, from doing the inner work quietly, from becoming someone whose worth doesn't waver, even in the silence. That's the shift, from desperation to dignity, from needing to knowing, from chasing to being. So stop running, stop searching, stop convincing, start becoming, start walking like you already carry the crown, start showing up like the door has already opened. And even if it hasn't, become the kind of person who would walk through it with grace, humility, and unwavering strength. Because the moment you stop chasing and start becoming, that's when everything begins to fall into place. Not because you forced it to, but because you finally created space to receive it. And now, here you are. After the silence, after the healing, after the breaking and rebuilding, what you've been through wasn't a step-by-step manual. It wasn't a checklist. It was a transformation, a return to self, a quiet revolution in your mindset. This isn't about performing for the world, it's about protecting your peace. It's about becoming who you were always meant to be before the noise got loud, before the world taught you to chase what was never meant to be forced. It's about remembering that silence holds power, that solitude brings clarity, that your energy is sacred and not everyone deserves access to it. You are not here to convince people to see your value. You are here to live it, to breathe it, to embody it. There comes a time when the loudest thing you can do is say nothing, when your silence becomes your strength, your boundary, your safe space, when you realize peace isn't something you find, it's something you choose, in how you respond, in what you release, in who you allow into your life. It's not about bitterness, it's about ownership, and real power grows in those quiet moments. The ones where you choose discipline over distraction, where you lean into solitude instead of shallow connection, where you stop explaining and start evolving in silence. Not everyone is meant to walk beside you. Not everyone can handle the fullness of your healing, your growth, your mission. And that's okay, The ones who are meant for you will not be threatened by your boundaries. They will be drawn to your strength. Because when you stop chasing and start becoming, everything begins to move in alignment. Not because you demanded it, but because you became the version of you that was finally ready. Ready to release what no longer fits. Ready to grow into what always was. Ready to become who you were created to be. That's when the shift happens. That's when the right doors open. That's when you realize you never had to beg, never had to chase, never had to prove. You just had to believe in your worth, in your becoming, in the process. So keep showing up even when no one sees it. Keep growing even when it's uncomfortable. Keep healing even when it feels impossible. And above all, keep choosing yourself over and over again.